G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I was surprised today. I had an opportunity to go down to the city to take my daughter and son-in-law down to Surrey Hills, and I had all the freedom in the world to go down the beach or go wherever I wanted to spend my first Saturday out of lockdown. But I decided to come back home and just go for a bushwalk. Go for a bushwalk close to home because it is just so peaceful and so relaxing and so serene that sometimes being out of the hustle and bustle of the shopping centres, away from people, is in itself a new sense, a new release of freedom. So here I am. I'm in the bushland close to home, at Northmead, between Northmead, North Rocks and Borkham Hills, and we'll go for a walk and talk like we normally do. And I want to share a book summary with you today, and the book summary is aptly entitled, Be Where Your Feet Are. An interesting book, Be Where Your Feet Are, and the author is Scott O'Neill. The other thing I want to mention today is that New South Wales achieved its 80% vax rate. So we achieved our target, so well done to all the people in New South Wales who rolled up their sleeves and came forward. And I think our first vaccination rate has popped up to 92% or better. So we could get, if we're lucky, we could get a vaccination rate for 16 and overs of mid 90%, which is phenomenal, which could put New South Wales and Australia at close to the top of the table as the most highly vaccinated community or country in the world, which is phenomenal given where we started from. We had a shaky start, but it just goes to show that it's not where you start that counts or how you start, but how you finish off. And we're in a really good position now going forward. We've got international travel opening up, and the world is now our oyster once again, and I look forward to seeing the economy bouncing back, jobs opening up, and people slowly going back to a beautiful normality. Anyway, let's focus on this book summary to see where it leads us. Be Where Your Feet Are. So the author kicks off with a quote from the book where he says, making the most of each moment and ridding ourselves of toxic habits such as consistently looking forward or looking back is really important, because the only thing we really have is the present that we can do something about. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but we have the present, this present moment. So whatever you're doing right here and now, at this point in time, is your current world. So the author, I guess, focuses mostly on this in this book on making the most of this present moment will allow you to make the most of your life. Because the author then presents the concept to us that life presents opportunity costs. We have to make choices all the time, and each choice hopefully will generate the greatest return for us. But whenever we make a choice, we're saying no to something else. And the question is, and the big question for everybody is, had I done that something else, would I have been better off? And most of the time we will never know. Because even if you did that something else, the outcome may not transpire as you think it may have transpired. Because nothing is certain and nothing is guaranteed. Because each step we take, each path we go along will present a different opportunity and a different cost to each every one of us. And sometimes it's impossible to figure out if you did A, B and C, whether or not you would have ended up in or where you expected to end up. So with any work that we do, with any activity we engage in, there's always an opportunity cost. Each minute invested takes us away from another activity. Each minute that we invest at work or we spend at work takes us away from our family, our friends, our health. It costs us something. So we have to understand that everything we do is a premeditated decision that we take, and we've just got to live with the consequences and make sure that we're making the best decision at any decision point and living the life that we want to live, rather than living the life that others force us to live. So make choices and live with the outcomes of those choices. So the crux of this book is being present and living in the moment that you're in, so you can get a return on your time, because you can't be somewhere else. I'm here now. I'm here on this track. I'm walking. I'm enjoying what this present opportunity provides me. If I'm thinking about some other place, if I'm thinking about Greece, if I'm, thinking about being at home or being at work or being somewhere else, then what I'm doing is I'm stealing from this very place that I am at the moment, and I'm not making the most of what I've got. So I'm robbing myself of this currency that I have available to me. So the first formal point to come out of this book, let me go up this path here. I haven't been up here before. It's always good just to try something new, even though the sun's going down. I've just gone under the M2 freeway. The author says here that the best thing to do, though, is to assume the best in people, even when you have no reason to. Think about that. Let's just dwell on this point. The author says, and the first point that comes from this book, is that for everything we do, for every person we engage, the best thing to do is to assume the best in all the people that we come across, even when we don't have a good reason to do so. That's a lovely call. And it's a call of a mature sort of person who has lived their life, and to basically spread the word of hope and of brotherly love. And the author goes on to say that, when you are a good person at heart, life is better. If you look for the best or for the good in people around you, then your life will most probably be better overall. And it's all based on the law of attraction. You get what you give, and you get what you constantly think of. If you constantly think of negative things, then your life is going to be flooded and inundated by negativity. How wonderful is this? Look at this. The tree has collapsed many moons ago, I would imagine, and it's just sitting above the track here. Just beautiful, just so beautiful. So the author also says that by thinking good thoughts about people, about situations, what you're basically doing is you're activating the law of attraction. Because you've got to understand also that assuming does not make something true or false. Just because you assume somebody is bad, it doesn't make them bad. Doesn't make them good either. But at the end of the day, what the author is saying is you gain more by thinking good about the people around you. The truth is that is not yours to hold. I love this point. Let me say it again so we can absorb it, so we can focus on it. The truth is not yours to hold. Because what happens is that not everything that we see, not everything that we interpret is right. If I come across somebody and I speak to them and they don't respond back to me, it doesn't mean that they think ill of me. What it may suggest is that they could be distracted. I'm not sure where to go from this point, but I'll just keep on hugging the rock here and see where it takes us. Let me be careful I don't slip over, because there is a lot of green rock around here. Yeah, I think I'm on the right track. So we all have problems, is the point that the author's trying to make. And just because somebody doesn't speak to you properly or doesn't acknowledge you, doesn't mean that they don't rate you or don't like you. It just means that they may have something else tugging at their attention span that you need to take into consideration. So the key is to leave judgment behind. This is a good one, and it's the core of our Christian faith as well, to not be judgmental, and to just accept things for what they are without trying to read too much into it, or to not try and read too much negativity into it is probably the best way of spinning it from this author's perspective. So we need to try wherever possible to see the best in the people around us, the best in our parents, our grandparents, our friends, our family, our work peers, because not everybody's out to get us. Just recently, we've had to endure the pandemic, and there are a small group of very, very vocal people known as anti-vaxxers, known as freedom wankers, or, there are so many different descriptions. But they are people who are living in fear, uncertainty and doubt. And they think, they've got a paranoia about them, that they think that the world is against them. They think that the governments of the world are conspiring to rob them of their freedoms, to exterminate them, to make them sterile, to control and to monitor their every movement, to change their DNA. There are just so many things that go into it, which I must admit I find very, very tiring. And I just can't understand how people can sit and think that there are people out there specifically trying to get them. But we have a small group. And it's getting even smaller, given that I think Australia is going to get to a vaccination rate of 95%. A small group of people who live in fear, uncertainty and doubt, and are always looking to fulfill their, what's the word I'm looking for, their confirmation biases by any negativity that they can find, just to prove their point and prove that they're right. But the author makes another really powerful, valid point, saying that we all have off days ourselves. We all have off days. So it's very comforting knowing that when we have our off day, that there are people around us who still see the good in us and have our backs, so to speak. The next formal point to come out of this book from this author is where he says that failing productively. This is a very interesting point, because I wrote it down incorrectly. Failing productively is the best way to fail. So how can we fail productively? It's a really important, a really powerful point that comes out of this book, to look at failing, but failing productively, because we're all going to fail. Everything we do, and the more things we do, the greater the chance of failing. But given that we are bound to fail many times over in our quest for achieving our dreams, look at these beautiful caves along here. I could just imagine in years gone by how Indigenous communities would be possibly living around here and sourcing food from this particular area. But failing productively is basically a tool that we can use to help us understand, to help us, I'm on the right track, just bear with me, help us make the most of each of these stepping stones that we come across on our path. Because the author reminds us that life is about failure. No, we can't escape failure. As we said before, the more things we do, the more things we try, the more chances there are that we're going to fail along the way. But we can manage how we react to it. Failure is expected, but the way you manage it is probably the most, because we can learn to respond to failure in a way that helps us next time round, that makes us stronger and better. Next time round is the key message from failing productively. So using failure as a stepping stone to moving and gaining progress, because failure doesn't mean the end. Failure just means you've just come across, or you've just had or identified one way that doesn't work this time round. Doesn't mean we stop, just means we need to find other ways to get across the creek, like I'm trying to do now. And this path here meanders back and forward over the creek. And just bear with me. And here we are. We've got another crossing over here. And another important lesson that the author talks about, I love this point here, is that we need to get out of our heads, the mindset that only defeated people fail. And the author makes the great point that people fail more often in order to succeed, because success is a numbers game. In order to succeed, you need to fail. You know, you can't expect to win every time you decide to do something. Just get under this branch. Just dropped my notes. Pick them up. There's a lot of work's gone into putting together some of these notes. Let me just pop it back into my pocket and climb up this little path here, which will hopefully take us to some sort of road. So what we need to incorporate into our thought processes is that failure is a lesson and an opportunity to grow, and not a setback or something that is designed to destroy us. It's something there to help make us grow, develop, bend and stretch and become a bigger and better version of who we are. So the last point that the author talks about is a powerful point, and I noticed in the tennis, I've been following the tennis in America, in the California desert, called the Indian Wells tournament. And I've noticed this week that in both the men's and the women's tournament, that most of the top seeds, most of the favourites, have been eliminated by the semi-finals. So there's a path that goes up there and a path that goes down here. I'll just follow it down here for a little while, which shows that just because you're highly seeded, just because you've got a big reputation, it doesn't mean that guarantees that you're going to be the best and you're going to continually win, because everybody is searching for the win and everybody's gunning for each other. So the author here says it's important to trust the process. Just keep on going and understand that it's a numbers game and you need to be patient. The more tournaments you play in, hopefully, the more experience you develop, the more game fitness you generate, and you're in a position to leverage that and make the most of it. Because the road to success is often paved with many challenges and obstacles. Just like this track here. I now want to go down here, cross the rocks, get to the other side. Don't know where it leads, but hopefully it will give me a different perspective. I was impressed to hear the Premier say the other week, the new Premier, Dominic Perrottet, say that what he loses in time and what he loses in opportunity, he gains in perspective. That's a lovely saying. So just like the author here says, that you just got to hang in there, because you're going to gain something by generating as much experience as you can. And the other obvious point that the author makes that not very many people talk about, tends to be a bit of a taboo subject, because everybody talks about their successes, how wonderful they are and how easy it was. But people fail to tell us or to talk about how much longer it takes to achieve success than what people think. Now, all tasks, all programs, all projects that I've worked on, and I've worked as a pricing analyst and a commercial manager on a number of outsourcing projects, and you quickly learn that it takes a lot longer to deliver the project than what you initially expected, because there are so many challenges that come in the path of the project, and it's impossible to identify the future, because none of us have been to the future. None of us have lived the future. Doesn't matter how much experience you have, sooner or later you're going to underestimate or get things a little bit wrong or a lot wrong, because you can't always see clearly what's going on ahead. But as long as we're progressing, as long as we're moving forward, as I say, I've never been on this track before, but as I get closer and closer to where the track bends, it will open up and the future will be a lot clearer. So it's always good to plan for as far as you can see, and just keep on adjusting your plan as you get to where you can see for the next segment. Because we all have to understand that ambitious projects, ambitious objects, people who are ambitious set themselves big things to achieve, and it always takes longer, unless you're very lucky. It always takes longer to fulfill, results, massive results or outstanding results. For most of us, I'm not saying for everybody, take longer to appear. And I guess one of the best analogies to that I picked up at a seminar years ago, at an Anthony Robbins seminar, was when he talked about Chinese bamboo, or a type of Chinese bamboo. For the first 3 years, Anthony Robbins said that the bamboo does nothing, or appears to do nothing. The bamboo is planted and stays stunted. You see nothing. But what Anthony Robbins said was, underground, that bamboo is working hard. It's building a massive, broad and deep root system. So it's busily growing underground, away from where you can see, what you can prepare for. And then, after 3 years, it decides to shoot up. And in a small period of 6 months, it can become a forest, according to Anthony Robbins, which is how we should be as well. As people, we should spend a lot of time on our internal development, knowing fair well that the investment that we make could well influence our development going forward. So I've come out onto a road here and I've got absolutely no idea where I am, but thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we went through a cool book, an interesting book entitled Be Where Your Feet Are, from an author named Scott O'Neill. And hopefully we can incorporate a lot of those lessons into our futures, into our daily routines, our schedules, and be better people for it. Yes, everybody, take care, and we'll chat again later, where I come to you from a different location with a different message, a message of empowerment, where we can be partners in each other's growth and development, and continue to grow and develop. And also I look forward to highlighting the beauty of this city of Sydney, and I'll try to present to you another aspect, another beautiful aspect for you to appreciate, to vicariously join me on, where we overlay it with a message of empowerment, a book summary where we can learn OPE, other people's experiences. And it never ceases to amaze me that every book summary that I do, I learn something new, which helps piece together the puzzle, allows me to join a few more dots and to discover that beautiful lesson that learning is the process of adding the unknown to the known. And the more you know, the more you're capable of knowing. So take care, Yassas, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.